Hola, mi amigos. Yo soy 7 WWE Rocks, and that's 2.5 years of Spanish right out the window. That's probably all I know. Lucha Underground taught me most of my Spanish. So I will be reviewing tonight's episode, which was December 21st, 2016, and it saw the conclusion of the Battle of the Bulls tournament, and the winner would receive a World Championship opportunity. And the main event, of course, was the steel cage match where Johnny Mundo was defending that very world championship against Sexy Star. So this is my first Lucha Underground review ever. I believe I reviewed some of the Ultima Lucha events, but that was days after. So it wasn't like as soon as the show ended. So show did just end. Like I said, only 2 matches on the card, so that was kind of disappointing. A lot more vignette stuff and backstage stuff, during the break of those matches. But it was a good episode. Not the best, of course, but not the worst. So we kicked it off with the Battle of the Bulls finale, which was the Mac versus Cage versus PJ Black versus Jeremiah Crane in a Fatal 4-Way elimination style match. So the previous Battle of the Bulls matches were all 4-ways, but they, of course, were not elimination rules. It was whoever got the first pinfall won the match. So my favorite one was probably, just real quick, the entire tournament, I would say Jeremiah Crane versus AR Fox, or Dante Fox, versus Killshot versus Mariposa, I believe was the last person in that match. That one was just so fun. I think it was last week. It was really fun, fast-paced. This one wasn't as fast-paced, but it did have some really great spots. The finish, I think, fell flat, but I'll get to that, of course, in the next few seconds, minutes, whatever. But the beginning of the match just saw Cage basically brutalizing everyone, throwing people around, just doing those big boots he does, killing people, F5 to PJ Black, clotheslining people out of the ring. Cage during this match just absolutely dominated, and there was one spot where Mac had him in an electric chair position, and PJ went to go on the top rope to do, I thought it was like a doomsday device they were going to do, but PJ Black jumps off the top rope, and while Cage is on the Mac's shoulders, he catches PJ Black midair, then leaps off Mac's shoulders, and then does a scoop power slam to PJ Black in midair. It was absolutely insane. It was such a great spot. A little before that, I believe, is when they started doing all the crazy dives. I mean, we saw Brian Cage do a senton over the top rope to the floor. We saw PJ Black do a moonsault to the floor. I mean, they did some really cool spots at the beginning. But sadly, Tejano had to come in. This is when Cage was just brutalizing everybody. Pretty much the entire offense came from him and him only. So he's just murdering people, about to get a pinfall, it looks like, but none other than Tejano jumps up on the ring apron, and he's got his big bull rope that he carries, to the ring and such. And he knocks out Brian Cage. He doesn't knock him out. He just actually jab to him, takes him out, kind of makes him all stumble around. And then the 3 men that were in the match, they picked up the pieces, because we saw Jeremiah Crane hit one of those bicycle kicks he does. Jeremiah Crane, his moveset, 75% of it is bicycle kicks and super kicks, and I love it. But he had a bicycle kick after Tejano, hit Cage. Then Mac hit a stunner on Cage, and then PJ Black hit a 450 splash off the ring apron on Cage to eliminate him. So I was sad to see Cage go as the first man. I thought for sure it'd be the Mac or PJ Black, but no, we saw Cage go out first. The fans were chanting Tejano, which I did not understand, because I was actually pretty mad that he would interfere. And Matt Striker's reasoning or something was like, oh, he's getting back at Cage for being up 2-1 in their best of 7 series or whatever. And I'm like, or best of 5, sorry. And I'm thinking, how is that him getting back at him? He's losing it, so he's going to be like, I'm going to cost you your match. I just thought that was kind of stupid. But moving on, let me see where I left off in my notes. I actually took notes. Can you believe it? Wait, how did... Oh, okay, so pretty much, after Cage left, it kind of slowed down. I didn't expect Cage to be thrown out this easily. I really did not. But Mac eliminated Jeremiah Crane via stunner off the top rope. Mac loves that Stone Cold Stunner. The fans freak out for it, and I'm really happy they do, and I love it. But, man, he loves that stunner. So he stunned Jeremiah Crane off the top rope, and that eliminated him. So I was really shocked that it was PJ Black and the Mac as the final 2-man. This tournament was 16 men, and we came down to 2 men at the end, and I couldn't believe it was Mac and PJ Black. So my thoughts are, okay, they're going to have PJ Black win so they can do this whole him versus Mundo, and, the World Underground, or Mundo just wants him to lay down, but PJ Black wants to win the title. But that is not the direction they went. This was really shocking, I thought. So Mac eliminates Jeremiah Crane, which, again, I was very sad. Jeremiah Crane was my pick to win it. And then they go to commercial. They come back like 10 seconds later, and PJ Black hits a Stone Cold Stunner on Mac. Mac no-sells it. Then Mac hits a Stone Cold Stunner on PJ Black and gets the win. So it was literally like 10 seconds after the commercial break after it came back from the commercial break. So I thought that was kind of poor. I was a little disappointed with that. I was very surprised they would just come back and have it. And it felt like this whole tournament was building up, and then just to have that as the finish, I was disappointed. But the Mac is your new #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship in Lucha Underground, which is pretty cool. My pick, probably not, but it's good to see that it's a new person in the main event picture, I guess. I was not expecting the Mac, and I really do enjoy his work. I think he's a fun fan favorite. When the crowd there always seems to love him, so that's pretty cool. And we'll see what happens later on the night with the Mac. So moving on, we had a lot of backstage segments and such. Aerostar and Phoenix were searching for Drago in like a bathroom stalls. They were hitting all these stalls. They were searching for him. And then Cobra Moon, in my notes, I have Cobra Moon and friends show up. So Cobra Moon and those two other guys those guys that wear those like lizard masks or dragon masks or whatever. Basically, you got to look out for the big dude. The guy that's like 7 foot tall, he's the only one that really does anything. The other guy just kind of punches people. But Cobra Moon says, Drago's with us. He's not coming back. He's joined her lizard gang or reptile thing or whatever. And, Aerostar is like, no, he made a vow like a millennium ago that he would never join the dragon tribe again. And she's like, yeah, he did. And then they're like, okay, let's just start fighting. So they start fighting in the bathroom, basically. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like these like backstage fights, how they're all like choreographed and like you hear a bunch of like, all those like kind of sound effects and stuff. I felt like they were so much better in the first season. I feel like second season they started to be like really weird, and then this season they're just random stuff. Like they're just picking random places to fight in and making all those sound effects. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if you guys think the fights have gotten stranger. But basically, they beat the crap out of Aerostar and Phoenix. They're like jumping around stalls and stuff. But Cobra Moon beats the crap out of Aerostar, and Phoenix is laying on the ground after getting like smashed into a mirror. So she's basically saying, my Drago or whatever will come back to finish you off. So it looks like she's going to be doing some mind things on Drago, but he gets into it later. Next, there's a backstage thing where Sexy Star is getting ready for a match, and Matt comes up to her, and they chat, and she, is real proud of him. She's like, great job. I knew you could do it. I know you'd show all the doubters. He's like, thanks. I hope you're not going to be sad when I take the title from you. And they're like, haha, we're best friends. But she talks in Spanish, he talks in English. Neither of them talk the same language, but they understand each other. I think that's pretty funny. So basically, they're just like, yeah, we're friends. You're going to win the title off Mundo, and then you're going to verse me, and we're going to have a great match. We're going to be buddies. That's pretty much what it was. Next, Jeremiah Crane coming to the Dario Cueto's office, and they're talking, and he's saying, I can't believe you want to do this, whatever. We don't know what he's talking about. And then all of a sudden, he just stands up, like gets on a chair, gets one of the ceiling boards like out of the way, and Dario's like, what are you doing? Why are you messing around in my office? And Jeremiah Crane picks up something. We didn't really see what it was. He's like, I left this when I was a kid in here. So apparently Jeremiah Crane has lived where the temple was as a kid, or he just messes around at the temple when he was a kid. Who knows? But he's walking out with it, and he runs into none other than, I should probably know her name. She's really hot. Is Mil Muertes' girlfriend? Why don't I feel like, sometimes they're so obvious, but then when I'm talking about them, I forget their names. But he's talking to her. You guys know who I'm talking about. Mil Muertes' girlfriend, Katrina. That's it. Okay. And he has a Ouija board or whatever, one of those like satanic things or whatever. And so they're talking, and basically she's like, I thought you'd given up games or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm going to come after you, and I'm coming after Mil Muertes. And he says next week he got Dario Cueto to give him a match with Mil Muertes next week. So I'm really pumped about that. Jeremiah Crane versus Mil Muertes. That should be really good. And he says, after I'm done with Mil Muertes, you will be all to myself. So, interesting stuff. Sexy Star versus Johnny Mundo for the steel cage match, the main event of this week's show. It was good. It was a pretty good steel cage match. It was a lot of them just trying to escape, and then the guy Mundo would pull her down, or Sexy Star would pull him down. It started off with Mundo spitting in her face, so you knew it was getting real fast. Vampiro said during the match, he asked Matt Striker, he was like, "Can submissions happen in steel cage matches?" And Matt Striker took a pause, like, "Are you serious?" And then it was like, yeah, I don't know if Vampiro did that just to be get the fans thinking and stuff and talking about it. I don't really know. But I believe this is the 4th steel cage match in Lucha Underground history. It might be the 3rd. I know it was Johnny Mundo versus Brian Cage, and then it was Johnny Mundo versus King Cuerno. Real quick, where is King Cuerno? I missed him. He was a fun gimmick. And then I want to say Mundo and Puma had a steel cage match, but maybe they didn't. So this is either the 3rd or 4th, but Mundo's been in all of them pretty much, it seems like, unless I'm forgetting about one. But that's pretty cool, I think. I wish Matt Striker and them would bring it up. But it was a fun match. Nothing crazy. There was one spot I thought that was kind of funny. Like, they were on the ropes, hanging, trying to get out of the cage, and Sexy Star kicks Mundo's leg out from under him. He falls, balls first on the ropes, and Matt Striker's like, he's gonna have to try to massage his Mundos later on. So I'm like, oh, Matt Striker. But the match carries on. Sexy Star gets on the top of the cage. Mundo and her are fighting, and she knocks him off. He falls to the ring mat, and she climbs up. Looks like she's about to escape, but no. She says, I'm going to do what any other wrestler would do in a steel cage match, and I'm going to jump off when I should just have escaped. So she jumps off, and Mundo catches her perfectly, which, I think that's really good to see them, not just miss completely, but he caught her perfectly, but a little too perfectly, because when he caught her, he caught her so perfectly that he pad her up, because he's obviously much stronger than her, has her up, and then he kind of just fell backwards. So it kind of looked not bad, but it was just he obviously caught her in midair, held her for a few seconds, and then fell back. But he kicks out. I didn't think that was going to be the finish, and I was glad it wasn't. But they had that big Lucha crowd just freak out because of that, and it was cool. It's always great to see a dive off the cage. And then the finish came. They were on top of the cage, both of them trading punches, both of them trying to get out, trading punches, fighting. And finally, Mundo rips off Sexy Star's mask, throws it in the middle of the ring, and she goes for it. We don't see her face, of course, but she's trying to get it on. The ref's trying to help her. And Mundo escapes the cage, and when she finally gets it on, she runs to the cage wall and sees Mundo just staring back at her, literally about to jump down, land his feet, and win the match. And, of course, he does. So that finish I really liked. I thought that was pretty funny. Because Mundo, he's that cocky heel. He's such a douchebag. And then when he was just staring at her and she knew she was defeated, and he was like, I've done it. It was pretty funny. So he runs around and holding up the belt like he's you freaking John Cena or something. But I thought that was pretty funny. A good finish. And I look forward to their feud, I guess. Sexy Star has been a very big part of Season 3. So, and then at the end of the match, when he climbed the stairs, and held up the title, the Mac comes out and stuns him. So the Mac hit about 4 stunners this episode. So that was pretty cool. He holds up the belt as Sexy Star, flashes like a Justin Bieber heart at Mac, like, thanks, bro. And he's like, no problem. And then he holds up the title and throws it back down on Mundo. But the show was not over, as we saw Drago, a prisoner in Cobra Moon's palace or whatever. And she comes out and she's like, that one big dude, I forget what his name is. She's like, he's going to bring you something to eat. You're probably starving. And he's like, I'd rather starve. And she's like, haha, I know you would. And she leaves, and he breathes fire. No joke. That's really what happened. He just breathed fire out of frustration and agony. So Lucha Underground's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy. So next week we got Jeremiah Crane versus Mil Muertes, but I think that's all that they've announced. But this was fun. It was a good episode. It wasn't the best. I was hoping the Battle of the Bulls match would be a little better. But what are you going to do? So thank you so much for watching or listening. I had 2 viewers on and off throughout this, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I always think I'm not going to talk enough, but then I realize I put way too much notes in it. So sorry about that, but I'm glad I'm doing this because I've always wanted to review a show, and Christmas breaks has allowed me to review a show. And Lucha Underground's great because it's only an hour, and it's not like you have to think about everything. It's kind of like crazy randomness that you can just enjoy. So thanks so much for watching, listening, whatever. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Follow me on Twitter at 7WWERocks. I appreciate you guys listening, and let me know what you thought in the comment section. If you watched it, please let me know what you thought of the whole show, your thoughts, and all that great stuff. And yeah, it's been fun. So thanks so much for watching, and hopefully this isn't the last. Let me know if you still want me to do it. So have a great night, everybody.